Hello and good morning. Welcome back to Friday morning Q&A. I am back in my big comfy chair and I was thinking about it today. I think this will always be my spot, and mostly because I don't want to clean the rest of my house. And in this spot, I don't really have to clean anything, and you can't tell that on the other side of this there's a pile of laundry or that there's dishes in the sink, so this is a great place for me. I hope you guys are having a really great week. Last week we talked about morning routine, and I wanted to give you a little bit of a update on what I'm doing on my morning routine. So I started out last week on Wednesday, so I'm on day 10 now, and I started by doing things like walking the dog, feeding the dogs, taking care of them in the morning, and using that time as my time to set my intentions. And it really has, I can't even believe it how much it's already made me have such a better day. It sets me up in the most amazing way. Sometimes it's frustrating to get it done, and even I did it on the weekends because I think it's important when you're learning a new habit to do every single day, and don't skip days even if it's like Saturday or Sunday or you're feeling like you want to stay in bed longer. That's okay. I also have pushed my morning routine later in the day if I wanted to like sleep in a little bit. Some weird thing happened to me last week where I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning for no reason, and I was up for the rest of the day. I could not go back to sleep. And I finally was feeling tired enough again around like 5:45, and I fell asleep for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and I just wanted to stay in bed a little extra longer that day because I was exhausted. But I still got up when I got up, and I still went and did the dog walk and did the dog cleanup and all of that part of my morning routine, washed my bed, washed my face, made my bed. So that's like part of my typical morning routine, and I did that. And I think that it's important to recognize that we're not setting these very strict parameters on the morning routine. We're setting these intentions for what we want the morning routine to do for us. So we want it to help us feel better about ourselves, help us to feel more motivated, help us to feel more productive earlier in the day, but we don't want it to ever become a burden. I never want you to wake up and feel like, oh, if I don't do my morning routine at 5 o'clock in the morning, then it's a total waste and I'm just not even gonna do it. If you get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, do your same routine. Your body will start to recognize that pattern, and it'll become easier and easier for you to do it, and it won't seem like a chore anymore. There's so many things that we do habitually without even realizing that we do it. Most likely you get up at around the same time every day and go downstairs and make yourself a cup of hot tea or coffee, something like that, and do some type of routine, even if it isn't really organized. So it's really important to just do something, and don't really be so worried about how stringent you have to be with it, or like, oh, it has to be done at a certain time, or I have to do these 5 things and it has to be done in this order. Just the pressure of that, just having like kind of anxiety around this very structured thing, can make it so that we don't want to do it. So pick 1 or 2 things that you really want to do to feel productive, like making your bed, which is one of those healthy habits of all the people in the world who are successful. That's the first thing they say, is make your bed in the morning, which I never did, and it does help me feel a little bit more productive, but mostly it keeps me from getting back in it later because it's like pretty now. Okay, so getting your morning routine settled in. I'm on day 10 and it already is feeling really easy for me. It's already feeling like a pattern. It's already feeling like I really enjoy doing it. It doesn't feel like a burden anymore, and it's going really nicely, and I've been able to incorporate some new things into it. So I've been actually able to have a little bit more time because I've been a little bit more efficient, and by getting some things done that I needed to do the chore wise first thing in the morning, it's giving me more time during the rest of the day too. So I'm able to do some of those other things that I really enjoy, like journaling or meditating, later on in the day when I have a little bit more time because I've done some of the other chores earlier. So it's actually had this kind of domino effect on my whole life. It's been pretty amazing, and all I do is make my bed, brush my teeth, wash my face, brush my hair, get dressed, and then I go downstairs and I walk my dogs. Then I come back and I clean up after them and feed them. And like, that's my whole morning routine. Everything after that is just kind of whatever is gonna happen after that. But I make sure to do all of those things first. And it only takes me about 20 minutes, maybe at the most. And I feel so much more centered and grounded at the end of that time that it makes it easier for me to, do everything else everybody else needs for the rest of the day. I'm really appreciating taking that time for myself. So if you haven't started a morning routine yet, watch last week's video so that you can see just everything that we've been talking about. And if you have any questions about it, drop them down in the comments. Or if you've started doing morning routine and you want to tell me about it, tell me about it. I'm so excited because it's having so much of a transformation on my life. I can't even imagine what it will do for you. I'm so excited for you guys. Okay. So that is what I wanted to talk about with morning routine. I also wanted to touch a little bit more on hydration, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, which making sure you're getting enough water intake every day and really making sure you're adding those minerals. So if you're drinking a cup of water and 30 minutes later or 20 minutes later, that entire cup of water is coming out in your pee, then you're probably dealing with some dehydration issues. We shouldn't be getting rid of as much water as we're bringing in. Our body is primarily made up of water. All of our cells need water in order to operate properly. It brings oxygen into the blood. We need water. But if it's just going right through in and out, then we're not really saving any of that and it's not really having a benefit for us. So making sure you're adding those minerals to your water is going to hold on to the water a little bit longer and your body's actually going to be able to use the water. So if you're noticing you're getting like dehydration headaches or just not feeling as much energy during the day and you're drinking and consuming as much as you're excreting or wasting, then you've got some dehydration problems. So definitely adding those minerals and making sure you're staying hydrated is so important because we have to have water in order to live. I think it's 3 days without water before you die. So make sure you're really getting that good intake in, but if you are getting a really good intake and you're still feeling dehydrated, it's probably a lack of minerals, so make sure you're adding that too. And if you want more about that, that was in the video from 2 weeks ago. I just wanted to kind of reiterate to you, making sure you're still staying hydrated. If you're local to Southern California, we're likely to have more heat for another 2 or 3 months, and it's gonna still require you to have that extra intake of water. But today's topic, I wanted to talk about digestion. So none of you guys have really asked any questions yet, and this time is for you. If you want anything specific answered, please, please, please ask me. Otherwise, I'm gonna do it based on what my clients for that week have asked me and what the most common question has been. And lately I've been getting a lot of questions about digestion and like stomach pain and not properly digesting our food and maybe not having as much energy or having those vitamin deficiencies. So if you go to the doctor and the doctor says you don't have, vitamin D or you're really low on your B vitamins, what most likely is happening is not that you're not getting those things in your regular diet, it's that your body isn't breaking them down and using them properly. And where that comes in is a digestion problem. So a couple of things about that. One really kind of easy way to help with that is to add digestive enzymes into our diet. So when we're eating the food, we can take a digestive enzyme. I really like papaya enzymes because they match your pancreas or pancreatic enzymes very similarly. So that'll help your food digest and break down so that it's not getting stuck in large particles, and you're also going to be able to use all of that. So if you're eating these really, really great, incredible meals, organic, all clean or whatever, you're doing a great healthy diet for yourself, but you don't seem to be seeing a whole lot of progress, or maybe you're not feeling good still, it's possible that you're not breaking down that food at all. The other thing that's really important for digestion is paying attention to our food and actually telling the body that we're eating. This is a really strange thing because I think we like to think like, oh, we're putting food in, which means our body is getting the energy and that's all we really need to do. The problem with that is the body takes cues and it has to know when you're eating in order to turn on the digestive system. It has to like kind of switch on and say, okay, now I'm eating and I need to be paying attention to digesting my food. When you do that, it turns on the digestive enzymes, your mouth will start to kind of water, you'll get that saliva. In your saliva is actually those digestive enzymes. So when we're chewing the food, it's already starting to break down. What's happening is that we lately, or with most of us, or me, or anybody, I don't know, we are eating food but not really paying attention to the fact that we're eating. So if we're on our phone, if we're watching TV, if we're driving in the car, you're likely not telling your body that you're eating. And so those processes are not turning on. So if you're driving, if every single morning you eat your breakfast in the car on the way to work, your body is paying attention to the road, the cars, the traffic, the radio, all of those things that it has to be cognitively aware of. it's not paying attention to the food. It's not paying attention to the smoothie. It's not paying attention to the burrito or the donut or whatever it is that you're eating in the car on your way to work. Your body is focusing on all of these other things. And it's very important to turn on that digestive system so that you can use any of those nutrients. Especially if you do like a meal replacement or a smoothie on your way to work in the morning that has like all your superfoods in it, and you're really expecting that this one smoothie is going to give you all the nutrients that you need for the day. If you're not paying attention to actually digesting that smoothie, then you're likely not going to get a whole lot of benefit from it. This hit me yesterday when I was driving to San Diego because I was drinking a juice in the car. And I try not to eat my food in the car. I try to like sit and eat and enjoy the meal as a meal. But when I was driving yesterday, I really just wanted like a, pressed juice. It was really, just sounded really good. It was all greens and had some ginger, things like that. And I was really excited about it, but it got me thinking, okay, if I'm just drinking this, likely it's going to go right through and go to my kidneys and get processed out rather than be digested through the digestive system as food. So I started thinking about food just as a test, just to see what would happen. And I started thinking about a good meal, a breakfast, something like that. And I took a couple of sips of the juice and then I just waited. And what ended up happening about 2-3 minutes later is my mouth started to get to salivate and I started to feel like, oh, I'm eating or I'm digesting. And so my digestive system had clicked on. And because of that, I started to feel that I was digesting and that was what my body was paying attention to. So I absolutely think that we can do this, that we can tell our body when it's time to pay attention to food, even if we're not giving the food the full attention. I like to make the meal an event. So I make myself something nice. I like to sit down and I like to pay attention to my food. I like to think about how it tastes and how it smells and how it's nourishing my body, and that's really been a really big benefit for me as far as digesting. So when I was sitting in the car yesterday, I needed some way for me to digest this food, so I started thinking about food, and that made me salivate, and that clicked on the digestive process, and then I ended up being able to digest that drink. And the way I know that is because it was an hour-long drive and I didn't have to like pee like crazy when I got there because I had just drinking 20 ounces of juice. What that tells me is that I was using a lot of those nutrients and my body absorbed the liquid, absorbed the fiber, and then it didn't come back out again for a lot later in the day. So I had a long time of my body processing that food. So that's actually a really good thing. When we're eating, we have to pay attention not just to the fact that we're making this big, beautiful meal for ourselves, or even if it's just something that you're microwaving or something really simple that you're grabbing and go, you still have to pay attention to that so that you know that it's time to digest. Our brains are incredibly capable and just very structured, and we know how to do all of these things. We just have to tell our body when it's time to do that and really pay attention to it. And naturally, as humans, no matter how much we like to think we're very bad at multitasking. Research has shown that people who multitask actually get fewer tasks done in longer amounts of time than those who try to focus on one task at a time and actually complete each task before moving on to the next one. I'm really, really bad at this. This is something I'm consciously working on, just trying to do one thing at a time. Laundry or just the dishes or like just writing or just reading, but I always want to be doing more things at a time. Our brain is like this, where it's capable of thinking about a lot of things, but if you're thinking about a lot of things, you're not thinking about any one thing very well. So when we need to digest our food, it's very important to be paying the most attention to the food that we're eating. If you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and you're looking at horrible news stories or like, what's the latest news with whoever is on TV today or whatever it is, that stress, that trigger of trauma, that like if you see a little kid who's struggling through things while you're trying to eat, what do you think your brain is going to put more attention on? The food that you're eating or the feeling and the fear and the sadness that you're now experiencing by having read that story? So it's important to realize that our brain is totally capable of paying attention to a million things at one time. But if you are doing that, you're not paying attention to any one thing well enough. That's like when you're trying to, do all your things that you need to do and you start running into the walls or, dropping things on yourself or your hands or breaking things because you're not actually paying attention to the thing that you're doing. And as much as that's a great external response for us, it's important to understand that that's also happening inside of our body. If we're only paying attention to one thing at a time, everything that's going on in our body can be focused on that one thing. And that's an incredible powerhouse if you focus all of your attention on your meal and eating and digesting. And if you can't do that, if you always eat your breakfast on the way to work, you always drink the smoothie in the morning, whatever it may be, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're paying attention to it. Think about the fact that you're drinking the smoothie. Think about how it tastes. Think about what it feels like. Oh, it's cold. It tastes like strawberries. It, made my stomach feel cold when I took a sip of it. All of those things will help to benefit and turn on that digestive system. And you'll know because you'll start to salivate. You'll start to feel that like, oh, my digestion is working now. And that's a really good sign because you'll benefit from it and you'll actually have a lot more, energy, a lot more nutrients absorbed from your food, a lot less material and waste coming out that could have been used for your body. Your gut will benefit, your energy will benefit, your mood will benefit, everything if you're thinking about your food and holding on to more of your own calories that you put in for a reason. We eat for energy, and sometimes it takes more energy to digest that food if we're not paying attention to it. And then it's kind of a waste. There's not really a balance there. If you're paying more attention to your phone rather than your food, you're not getting as many of those nutrients, and it wasn't really worth it for you to even have that meal. Okay, so that's a little brief bit about digestion. I hope it helps in some way. If you're struggling with digestion, let me know. I definitely have some recommendations for supplements that'll help break down food properly, help you digest, work as like a really good starting point, maybe a jump off point, so you can start paying attention to your food. If you want to know more about this type of thinking, you can look up mindful eating or mindfulness with eating, and there's a lot of practices for mindful eating, so this is a really good thing to look into if you're struggling with digesting your food properly. And you'll know because if you're not digesting food properly, you'll have gas, bloating, fatigue, brain fog, painful digestion, painful bowel movements, constipation, diarrhea. All of those are signs that digestion is not working properly. If you have vitamin deficiencies, but you tend to be eating a pretty wide range of fruits and vegetables and meats, you're probably dealing with a digestion issue that it's not breaking down properly. So very important, simple thing to do. Pay attention to your food when you're eating it, and it could be that easy. I really hope you guys got something out of today's lesson, but please ask me your questions so that I can tell you the answers to the things that are really bothering you. Quick update, podcast is live, the Tea Time Podcast with Sharissa Bradley. That's on iTunes and Google. We'll do a big launch later in the month, but I just wanted to let you know it's there so you can start listening to more things if you just can't get enough of my voice. And book is going great. We're going to the editor next week, and then we'll be published on December 1st. So that's coming up faster than I can even believe. It's absolutely incredible. I cannot even believe how quickly it's coming up. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're looking for more tips on morning routine, check out the video from last week. I gave a lot of advice on how to get started with that. And if you're struggling with anything, reach out. I'd love to help you in any way that I can. So see you guys next week, Friday morning, 10 a.m. and ask me your questions so that I can tailor it to you. I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.